So don't rush it. Enjoy the beforehand, enjoy the after, enjoy the magic that you just created with each other, and congratulate yourselves on taking that time to be intimate with each other, to taking time out of your day to connect with your partner and to bring pleasure into your life. Who doesn't want more pleasure in their life? I'm Rachel, and you're listening to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Shag Rag. I am really excited to share this company with you all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As you know, I love to support women-owned businesses, and Shag Rag is a women-owned business in Santa Cruz, California. They have the cutest designs of moisture-proof blankets. You've heard me talk about these before on many episodes, so I'm finally excited to be able to share a discount code with you all to go ahead and grab yours. This is designed to protect your sheets from the wetness that is created during sex. So if you are interested in having some sex while on your period, or you're a squirter, or just in general, those fluids that generally come up when we are having sex and having fun, this is designed to keep your bedding dry and comfortable. Also, for those of you that I hope are using lube with every sexual experience, this blanket is going to protect your sheets from any lube, oil-based, anything like that as well. Again, made in the US, it is eco-friendly, water-based, inks, and I'm so excited. They sent me the cutest one, the peach. It says "Eat me and bite me" on it with cute little peaches. I love it. There is, again, a ton of cute patterns. So go to their website. It's Shag Rag. It's SHAGRAGG.com. We'll make sure to get the link here in the bio for you. And you can use code wellness10 at checkout, and that is going to save you 10% on your purchase. So again, that is wellness10, and you're going to go to shagrag.com. Let me know how you love this, and I am so excited for you to get your first moisture-proof blanket. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. Happy snow day to anybody that is here local to me in Michigan. They closed all the schools and everything last night before it even started snowing, which blows my mind. If you are in my age group, you remember back in the day, like waking up the next morning or that morning of a snow day and looking at the news to see if your school is closed. Man, kids these days, they got it so easy. They know the night before, so they get to stay up late and eat snacks and watch TV and whatever. Anyways, and then we didn't even end up getting probably not even an inch of snow here. So it was a snow day, like a false snow day. They don't even get to really go outside and play in the snow on a snow day. So anyways, it's been a cozy day over here, just getting some work done in the office, watching some TV. It's a Friday right now when I'm recording, and all of my TGIT shows I get to watch on Fridays, my Grey's Anatomy, my Chicago Fire, my all the shows. Like, what else is it? The Resident? No, that's off right now. The Good Doctor. I started watching that new show Accused, and another new show, The Company We Keep, which is with the dad from This Is Us. I'm really enjoying that show. So anyways, you've heard me before, my toxic trait is the amount of TV that I watch. So there you go. That was just a very small amount of the shows that I watch on a regular basis. Anyways, and yesterday did taxes all day and finished part 2 of You on Netflix. So I know a lot of people were upset about part 1 just kind of being boring. I thought part 2 was much more like the previous seasons, so I thought it was pretty good. Anyways, now that you've got my weekly TV updates, let's get into the topic that we're talking about this week, which is how to make sex last longer. Yay! I know some people are like, yes, Rachel, like, give it to me. Give me all of the deets. Like, how can I last longer? And how can I make it more enjoyable? And, all the juicy things in between. So what is probably going to come as a surprise is what I'm going to tell you is really not like a secret sauce. yes, I could tell you, for men that are listening or for women that are listening and you want your men to last longer during sex, of course, there are different positions that you can do to help men last longer, which perhaps I'll make a specific episode on this and go in a little bit more detail for you. Or, telling them to masturbate more. Masturbating during the day and then having sex later is going to help men last longer as well. And again, different positions, it's just different, so many things, but that's really not where I'm going with this episode this week. I really want to focus on, first off, what even is sex, right? When we talk about the idea of making sex last longer, what is your definition of sex? And I want you to actually take a moment and ask yourself that question. What would you say is your definition of sex? Is sex when penis enters vagina, penis enters anus, penis in mouth, fingers in vagina, right? Like, what is sex to you? And I like to ask this question to people. I've asked it actually to a few different guests on the podcast. And when I took the time to sit down and think for myself, what would I say is the definition of sex? I really came up with, sex to me is that exchange between people, two people, three, however many people are involved. So an exchange of pleasure between two people, an exchange of sexual pleasure, an exchange of intimate pleasure, of erotic pleasure, if you will, if you want to go a little bit more in detail of it. Because yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to just to say pleasure, because I get pleasure when I eat gumballs, for instance. If you know me, I'm a gumball junkie. I freaking love gumballs so much. That just popped into my mind. But I get a lot of pleasure from eating gumballs. I get pleasure from taking my dogs for a walk. I get pleasure from dancing. I get pleasure from sleeping in, right? Or taking naps, right? Those things bring me pleasure, bring me joy, bring me happiness. But when you're thinking of the erotic standpoint of this, and really, again, yeah, what is your definition of sex? Growing up, I would have said that sex was penis and vagina, right? I think that was a lot of our definitions of sex growing up. That was what we were taught growing up. That's what sex was. But as this world evolves and as we as humans grow our knowledge and our understanding through this sex positive lens, I think what you are starting to find is that sex is so much more than just penetration. Sex is the beforehand, right? What we normally categorize as foreplay. Foreplay, only doing foreplay for an entire sex session that brings one or both or all partners to orgasm, can also be considered sex. It doesn't always have to involve penetration. It's not always going to involve toys. It's not always even going to involve touch, for those of you that like to play in the energetic space. And for those of you that like to enjoy and delve in sex in the kink space, right? There are such a wide variety of things that we can do that would be considered sex or sexual or pleasurable, right? So that's my challenge for you today, is like, really push yourselves and challenge yourselves onto what your definition of sex is. And I want you to widen and expand your horizons on this, because if you tuned into this episode today, if this episode title really sparked your curiosity of like, okay, yeah, I want to know how to make sex last longer. Step one is to expand your definition of what sex is. So that's step one. Now, step two, I want to really focus this episode on the foreplay concept that I was mentioning. And you hear me talk about foreplay all the time, but then I want to bring in this second component to this episode, something that I don't actually talk about often, but I believe is a really, really important thing, which is the aftercare. And aftercare, afterplay is something that I believe is more well known within the kink community, because aftercare is such an important piece of kink and BDSM when you are playing within those dynamics. But aftercare, no matter what dynamic or what space you're in, if you are being intimate with somebody, sexually intimate with somebody, aftercare and /afterplay, however you want to categorize it, is such an important component. And so we're going to dive into those two things a little bit deeper today. So the foreplay and the afterplay. And so when it comes to foreplay, as I said, sex and intimacy, that exchange, that energetic exchange can happen when you're not even in the same room as somebody, right? That energetic exchange can happen when you're going on with your day, you're at work, you're out and about, and you get that text from your partner that sends that surge of desire and spontaneity to your heart, to your vulva, to your penis, wherever it goes, right? But you get that tingly, you get those feels inside, like, ooh, okay, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what is going to come of this. I'm excited to see what's going to happen later. Building up that anticipation. And that's really the key here with foreplay. It's the anticipation. So building up that anticipation and carrying on throughout the day. Maybe it's not a text message, maybe it is a text message, maybe it's a look from across the room or a wink from across the room, maybe it's a little bit longer embrace when you greet each other for the day, getting home from work, or again getting home from doing your errands, when you are embracing each other and maybe you hold on for a few seconds longer. Maybe instead of just embracing, maybe you're moving your arms up and down their back and scratching their back or touching their hair, petting their hair. Maybe it's something like that. Like, it's just that little bit of extra that just that little bit of extra, that little bit of something, rather than just these quick exchanges that we generally have throughout the day. And so it could look like that. It could be maybe you're someone that just embraces when you get home, or maybe it's just a, hey, how was your day? And maybe that embrace then leads to kissing. Maybe that kissing leads to making out, right? These are all things, these foreplay, these sparks of anticipation and intimacy is what is going to help your sex, I'm going to use air quotes, sex, last longer. So so maybe when you have that exchange, or these things are happening, these touches, these eye gazing things like this are happening, maybe then that leads into going into the bedroom or making your way to the couch or the kitchen counter or whatever it is, wherever the sex is going to happen. But you don't have to go straight to penetration. I have an entire podcast episode on this, that sex doesn't always have to include penetration. Highly recommend listening to that one. But when you are engaging in the foreplay, so when you're engaging in the touch, the eye gazing, maybe you're playing a sex game beforehand, maybe you're role playing, maybe you're incorporating massage, touch is such an important piece of erotic connection. For many people, I will say there are some women that I've worked with before, moms specifically, where they just kind of feel like they're a little bit touched out, right? Kids are always like touching, grabbing, needing them. And so touch isn't always everybody's love language. But when it comes to intimacy, I find that it does scale pretty high in needs that people want, is that physical touch, that quality time and that physical touch with their person. And so it's not, as you heard on last week's episode, it's not like the boob grab, right? Or like the ass smack throughout the day. That's not really the physical touch I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like intimate, connected, intentional touch that you are giving your partner. So when you think of, I just mentioned massage, right? When you think of massage, right, you could be giving your partner a massage and the TV is on and you're watching TV and you're kind of just like half-assing it, not really paying attention. Your oil is drying up and you're not really noticing it and it becomes uncomfortable, right? Like, that's one way that a massage could look like. Another way a massage could look like would be TV off. You are 100% in tune with your partner. Your attention is on them and giving them pleasure. You are turning on some music maybe in the background. Maybe you have a candle lit, or an incense going, or a wax going, aromatherapy of some sort. Okay, maybe those things, you have taken those steps to create more intention and really setting up your space for them to enjoy this massage. I mentioned music. Okay, so you have the space set up, and then you are looking at them, you are watching what you're doing, you're going slow with your movements, you're really, really getting into it, and they can feel your presence. They can feel the energy that you are exchanging with them through your touch. And perhaps you're checking in with them, asking, how does this feel? How is this pressure? How is this temperature? What, if you're using different things. Okay, so do you see the differences between those two things? Now, when you're thinking about sex, right? When you are talking to a girlfriend or you're talking to a friend and you're exchanging stories about sexual encounters that you've had in your life, right? You you were likely going to, when you're describing that situation, you're going to start from the beginning. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, we went to dinner and then we got home, we just started kissing, we couldn't stop kissing each other, and then he started undressing me, and then he just spent time looking at me, and we were so connected, and then he picked me up and he wrapped my legs around him, and then he laid me down on the bed, and then he went down on me for 15 minutes, and it was amazing. I had multiple orgasms even in that experience. And then we traded, and then I started giving him head, and I started playing with his balls and like doing all these things, right? Like then we had sex, then there was penetration, then we used toys, and there was lubes and all these amazing things. I had more orgasms, right? When someone is explaining their sexual experience to you, that's probably the version that you're going to get. They're not going to be like, yeah, so we were laying down in bed and then his penis went in me and it was great. And we switched positions a few times. We came, it was great. We laid there afterwards, got up, cleaned up, boom, we're done. Right? They likely didn't just skip to the part where penetration happened. So that's what I'm saying here is that your sex is lasting longer, and it might already be lasting longer than you are envisioning, because maybe you were just thinking about sex as the time for penetration, the time that penetration happened. So extending in your foreplay, extending your view of what sex actually is two ways of actually making sex last longer. And I'm going to say it again, like I've never said it before, but if you are having sex with a female person, the female body generally needs 10 to 15 minutes of enjoyable foreplay to be ready for sex. When that enjoyable foreplay is happening, her body is going through the sexual response cycle, which in that time means her cervix is moving back, her vaginal walls are expanding, her body is starting to produce its own lubrication, and she's ready. The vagina is actually ready to receive something penetrative. So those things are all very important. It's not just like, for people that are like, oh God, I just want to get to the penetrative part, right? Yes, that's all great, but the anticipation, you guys, like I can't stress that enough. The anticipation, the foreplay, that most people say, most women, I should say, that I've worked with, that's the fun part for them. Like that is the more enjoyable part, is all the things that happen before the penetration occurs. Because women, we don't need penetration to achieve an orgasm, right? Most women orgasm from just clitoral stimulation. Is the penetration great as well while receiving the clitoral stimulation? Yes, of course, right? The more the merrier, right? To have that fullness feeling inside the vagina and getting clitoral stimulation at the same time can be really, really enticing for so many. So that foreplay experience, that foreplay, that pre-play, whatever you want to call it, is number 2 for how to extend your sex, how to make sex actually last longer. Okay. So then you move to your penetrative part. If it gets to penetrative, again, it doesn't always need to include that. But if that happens, then great. Got a little distracted for a minute. A car just drove by. Of course, now dogs are barking. Let me pause for a moment here. All right, and I'm back. Perks of living on a corner house with a dead end. You don't get many cars, but when you do, the cars that pass, the cars that want to come down your street, and you have dogs, they're curious. They want to know what the hell is going on. Also, it's 3:33 p.m. Anybody that likes angel numbers or signs from the universe, it is 333. Those are the numbers for abundance, opportunity, new beginnings, growth. Let's call it in. Let's claim it. Okay, that was perfect timing actually, because now we're moving into the aftercare side of things. So we talked about the foreplay side of things. Now we have the aftercare side. So afterplay, aftercare, however you want to call it. But this is something that I find that so many couples lack within their relationship and within their intimate connections. Most of the time we are finishing up with sex, and yes, sex can be messy. Sex is not dirty. There's nothing out there saying that sex is dirty. Well, there's a lot of saying out there that's saying that sex is dirty, but I'm telling you that sex is not dirty. Your body produces mixtures. What's the word I'm looking for? Mixtures. juices, liquids, right? Like this is a natural thing that happens. So of course you're going to have some things to, clean up afterwards, cleaning yourselves up, cleaning up the area, whatever that might look like. But yes, you can do that. And you can also do that with a little bit more intentional space between it. But really getting into this aftercare routine with your partner can be so beneficial to extending sex, right? And making that sex last longer. And I just want to throw in there, I did not have this in my outline in my notes to share, but sex also doesn't have to end just because male orgasm or male ejaculation occurred. So often that is like the end all. That's like the judge hitting the gavel, like, and end scene. And it does not have to be that. Sex can continue on, touching, kissing, embracing, all can continue on even after the man has the orgasm. Okay. But getting into an aftercare routine, so not jumping up and getting up right away. And especially like after that male orgasm occurs, and then they get up right away and they're like cleaning up and they're like, okay, they're getting dressed. Like that can be a little disheartening for a lot of people that are there on the other end. And same thing for women. Like, I recommend that we pee after sex, but same thing. If we're getting up, we're peeing right after sex, and then we're just getting our clothes and going back on with our day, that after sex, after intimacy connection is really missing. And what I hear from people is that when that is happening, oftentimes we kind of feel like a little bit used is the word I'm going to use here. So we feel a little bit used. We kind of feel like our partner is like, okay, like they got what they wanted sort of, and now we're going on with our day, or they didn't actually enjoy it because now they're ready to leave the space so quickly, right? They're ready to get on to the next thing. And again, that can be disheartening for the person that you just spent your time with. So being mindful and being conscious of that. But creating a routine, cleanup is definitely going to be something that is going to be necessary for so many people, but creating a routine to make that a little bit more connecting with each other, a bonding experience, perhaps even. So, there can be one idea of when you finish, and if there's cum or liquid or whatever that needs to be cleaned up, it can be, there's a difference between your partner getting up and throwing you a towel, and then there's a difference between your partner coming over and wiping you off, right? That isn't more so a bonding experience. There's a difference between just like getting the towel out of the hamper or getting the t-shirt that you were just wearing versus getting a warm washcloth and using that to clean up instead. See, there's like these different intentional things that you can do. And really quick, a waterproof blanket can be another thing that you can use that is going to help eliminate some of this cleanup needs, really. Still, I would like for you to be peeing after sex, ladies, because it is good to just clean out everything, and pee after sex helps to avoid UTIs, bladder infections, any discomfort, things like that. But having a waterproof blanket can also be something that actually can show up in the foreplay stage, where I was talking about setting up the scene. If you have that waterproof blanket down, then you are less worried about the mess that's happening, especially if you or your partner is somebody that squirts and that there's going to be more liquid and fluids that are happening. That waterproof blanket can really just help ease the mind a bit there. But making your cleanup that, like I said, that bonding experience. And ladies, if you are going and peeing afterwards, try to be mindful, like pee and then get back into bed and get back into your partner's embrace and be there with them. Same thing, guys, like if you're getting up and you're going to the bathroom, maybe you got to pee, or, wipe yourselves up or whatnot, washing your hands, whatever you need to do. Then coming back and embracing her and cuddling with her or him, whatever your partnership looks like. Perhaps even afterwards, another form of aftercare can look like bathing together or taking a shower together even. That is another way of making your sex last longer. And this one is, so I'm going to get some eye rolls with this one, but when you're there cuddling and you're in your embrace, talking and laughing with each other, right? Like that brings me into the second part. So you have the cleanup part, and then you have the connection part or the communication part. But talking and laughing with your partner after sex, and not laughing badly at them, like laughing in a good, enjoyable way. Like you just had fun, you just did some fun, enjoyable things with each other. Orgasms release that, and the endorphins are happy hormones. And so, of course, laughter and silliness might be a little bit present on the mind for you. But when you are in those, when you're in that space of connecting and having communication around what just happened in that experience, it's amazing. It's an amazing time to start to give your partner some praise around the I was gonna say around the situation, around the experience. So giving praise or sharing even some of your favorite moments of that and saying, I really liked when you did this, or I really enjoyed this, I really loved this position. And bringing in some ideas of, the next time, let's try this. I really enjoyed this part of today, and let's do that again next time. Or I really enjoyed this part of today. Next time, can we try it this way? Next time, can we use the warming lubricant? Next time, can we use this toy? Next time, can you bend me over? Next time, blah, 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 right? So you're planting seeds for the next time you're going to be intimate with each other, which is always fun and exciting to talk about, especially when you're in that moment, you're in your love bubble, right? Just coming out of penetration or out of that connected, you're if you got like the bell graph, right? You're coming down the slope here. So even making out, cuddling, caressing the body. That is one of my favorite things for aftercare, is when we're cuddling, right? And Danny is holding me and he's just petting my hair. And I think every girl on the planet likes their hair being played with. But that's my favorite. Or if he's just like caressing my arm, right? Like generally things that I wouldn't see as sexual, like playing with my hair, touching my arm, like those things just feel good. Those things make me feel taken care of. Those things make me feel safe and secure. And so to have those things being present after the sex has taken place, it just extends the sex, it extends the connection. Making eye contact with your partner after the sex has happened, and as you're extending into this aftercare, smiling at each other, right? Like again, just being playful, perhaps even having an emotional check-in and asking how are you feeling, because again, when your body is going through orgasm, everything is heightened. And so when you're coming down from that, sometimes there can be a sense of sadness when you're coming out of erotic experience like that. So checking in with your partner to see, and especially if you're in the BDSM play and kink play, the check-in afterwards is going to be super, super important. So these are all suggestions that you can do, but now I'm not saying you have to do every single one for your aftercare, but pretty much any of these or a combination of a few of these are going to be better than finishing, immediately jumping up, cleaning off, going to the bathroom, getting your clothes on, and going back on with your day. Okay. That is so often what couples do. I know it's what so many couples do. I know we've been guilty of this before too. So being more mindful and being more intentional around your time after the penetration or after the quote unquote sex has happened. So those are your 3 tips for making your sex last longer. So the first one was expanding your definition of what sex actually is. Second one is going to be ramping up your foreplay and making sure that foreplay is present. If you got a female partner, I'm recommending 15 minutes of foreplay. Okay. And then the aftercare, afterplay. So all the things that we just went over, extending that intimacy, extending the connection that you have with your partner after the penetration has happened. And I want to just toss in here real quick. The average amount of penetration, so sex including, so from the start of penetration to the end of male orgasm, is on average 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. So all the more reason to engage in the foreplay and all the stuff that's happening before, because why rush? Why rush to just enjoy 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes with each other? Indulge in the pre-play, indulge in the foreplay, indulge in the energetic exchange, in the physical touch and the quality time, indulge in that with each other. Then go to the penetration. I'm now gonna put it in my notes. I will make another episode on how to last longer in the bedroom, specifically to talk about positions and other tips that I would have for that. But Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes is the average here. So don't rush it. Enjoy the beforehand, enjoy the after, enjoy the magic that you just created with each other, and congratulate yourselves on taking that time to be intimate with each other, to taking time out of your day to connect with your partner and to bring pleasure into your life. Who doesn't want more pleasure in their life? Right? Right. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, I know a lot of people saw this title and they're like, yes, I want sex to last longer. What do you got for me? And you're probably a little bit surprised by the tips that I've shared, but these are necessary things that we need to talk about and that just deserve the time to be talked about. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I will see you guys on the next episode. I wanted to tell you what it was going to be about, but I can't remember. I don't have my little notes here popped up. So surprise, surprise. You'll see it when it comes out on Monday. All right, y'all. Talk to you later. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you really fucking loved it, make sure to tag me on social media at @TheRachelMain. I'll see you next week.